Hey y'all. Ooh, I'm excited to film this video. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of makeup that I've wanted, like wanted with the passion of a thousand burning suns over the course of the past year that I haven't bought, like stuff I wanted and didn't buy, and why and whether I'm glad that I didn't buy it. Spoiler alert, in almost every case I am glad, and whether I kind of still want it, all of that good stuff. My attachment to shopping and my desire to shop for stuff, shop around for stuff, and then decide to buy it and put it in my cart and buy it with my money and then get it, the desire to go through that, I still struggle with that. Even after my no-buy year and 2 years of budgeting, I still struggle with the powerful impulse to shop for stuff, even though my attachment to that very stuff is waning. So I find that in many cases, I want to buy a thing more than I actually want to own or even want to use that thing. And this was true even before my no-buy year. I mean, I think that this is actually true of a lot of people who love beautiful things and struggle to make sure that they keep a balance and make wise spending decisions. It's hard to distinguish between the desire for a thing and the desire to buy a thing. And it's something that I've been talking about on and off since the very beginning of my channel. So one of my main strategies for this predicament is waiting out the desire. So I find that when I'm gripped by the desire to shop for a thing, gripped by the desire to buy a thing, if I don't buy it right when I'm gripped, then as time passes, my better judgment, my wisdom, and also the reality of my life, which is the fact that I don't necessarily even want to own or wear that thing a bunch, that will take over and I'll kind of settle down and the desire to buy the thing will wane and I'll never end up buying it. And then in almost every case, I'm really glad that I didn't buy it because I'm glad that I didn't spend the money, but I'm also glad that I didn't get it. Like I'm glad eventually that I don't own it. So in this video, we're gonna look back over the year and take a look at makeup that I've had that experience with, makeup that I really, really wanted to buy, but didn't buy. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I've kind of covered a lot of what this channel is about already in the introduction to this video. Basically, my name is Hannah. I love beautiful things. I've struggled with overspending in my life, and so having recovered from that, now I'm always working to keep a balance, but to me, keeping a balance doesn't mean never wanting stuff, and it doesn't mean never buying stuff. It just means being mindful. So I talk about beautiful things and celebrate beautiful things on my channel, but with that mindfulness as a constant element. If that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe to this channel. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. So all of the makeup I'm going to be talking about, everything that's on my list, it's all stuff that at some point I really wanted. Like everything that's on this list, I have a memory of a moment in time, a moment during this past year when I was like chomping at the bit to buy it. Like I had that flush of excitement and I was really powerfully drawn to the act of buying it. That was like my criteria for putting something on this list. So that means for every single one of these things, I had to flex my muscles of resistance, my hard-earned, my hard-won muscles of resistance, and resist buying it. And I think that the outcomes, they vary. Most of these things I'm glad I'm glad it went down the way it did. I'm glad I didn't buy it. I'm glad I don't own it. But in some of these cases, I kind of have mixed feelings about it, and in a very few cases I kind of still want the thing. So I'll talk you through the outcome of each of these decisions as I go through each thing that I didn't buy. So we're going in roughly chronological order. When I sat down to make this list, I went back through all of my new makeup releases videos from the year and I pulled things that I remembered being like really interested in. I pulled things that I remembered having that moment, that like double heartbeat moment about. And the first one on the list, it's so weird to me. It's true. It's like a perfect example, but it's so weird. It's the Bite Beauty foundation, the new foundation that Bite Beauty released towards the beginning of the year. First of all, I don't even wear foundation. And I didn't then, and I knew that then, and I knew that if I got it in my hands, I was not going to use it and that I was not going to like put it all over my face every day to cover up my skin because I don't do that. I like spot conceal and I do like general concealing, but I don't like obscure my entire face skin every day with makeup. It's like not how I do face makeup. And yet it was just the claims. It was so, the way that it was sold, the claims, the fact that it was Bite, which is just this like alluring, like juicy mid to high end brand. And I just wanted it. Against all logic, unaccountably, I just desperately wanted to like hop in my car and drive to Sephora and buy it because it just felt like the thing to do. And so this is maybe like the dumbest, least logical, and in that way sort of most emblematic of my brief for this video product that's on my list. I'm so glad that I didn't buy it. I kind of almost did though. I was like, I could review it for YouTube. Everyone's gonna want to know about it, right? I like kind of almost did. But I put the brakes on, I didn't buy it. And at this point in time, I feel like, have they discontinued? I think they've discontinued it. Like I feel like it doesn't even exist anymore. And when was the last time we heard from Bite? Like, did Bite go, or is Bite like gone? It feels like something that happened 15 years ago that a brand called Bite Beauty released this foundation. And yet I could have been out the $45 or whatever it was just a short 11 months ago at the beginning of this year. I easily could have. What's even more serious to me is that not only would I be out that money, but I would have this foundation like sitting here in my life. And I don't want that either. I don't want that either. Here's another thing. It just feels like 25 years ago, I feel like I was in the womb. 35 and a half years ago, I feel like, is when they released the Colourpop Lunar New Year collection. And my mother was like feeling me move in her belly. And she was like, Colourpop Lunar New Year. Like, that's how long ago it feels like it was. I was so close to making a purchase from this collection. And you know what it was that got me? It was that they released this new formula. It was like the Luxe Blur, Luxe something. I haven't been paying enough attention to Colourpop this year to even know what it was, but it was some sort of Luxe, called Luxe Blur Promising Soft Blur Lip formula that was new for them. So that was a new formula, a new lip formula. And Colourpop's lip products have sort of consistently eventually disappointed me. Like I haven't tried the newer ones in recent months and even in recent years, but back in the day when I first got into makeup and first got into Colourpop, it was like I tried all the lip glosses and the lippy sticks and then the lipsticks and then the Luxe lipsticks, and I kept like, every time they would release one I would be like, it's so exciting, the colors, and I would try it. And really almost all of them, if not all of them, have migrated out of my collection because the staying power just isn't there. They don't perform in the way that even like my favorite drugstore lipsticks perform. So I've learned my lesson, and I think that that was the only thing that kept me from buying the reds, because they came out with this Luxe Blur lipstick and I had that feeling like it's a new thing from Colourpop that's lipstick and it's so exciting and it's in these colors that are really beautiful, these reds, and it feels like it's more for me than any of the other lip products they've ever released because it's this like blur, this soft blur thing, and like that's my jam for lips. And then in the same collection they released these beautiful Super Shock blushes in more brown toned mauves, I think is kind of what it was. They were just more my color than any of the other Super Shock blushes, and they were in these like red packaging with a little cat on it, and I just was like, I would love that blush, and I love a Super Shock cheek product, and I would love those lipsticks. I really felt like buying it. I really wanted to buy it. I put it all in my cart. I thought about it. I thought about buying it with my budget, thought about buying it for a review, and then I just didn't. That's the key. I just didn't. I just waited. And then like 11 months later, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I can barely even remember. I mean, that's not true. I just recounted it I didn't look up pictures or anything. Like, this is all from my memory. I remember the colors and the textures and the advertising. I remember how it gripped me. It's just that I haven't thought about it at all. And then of course they went on to release all of these different colors in that Luxe lip formula. And it went on to kind of get bad reviews. And I'm just so glad that I didn't buy anything from that Lunar New Year collection this year, at the beginning of the year. Oh my gosh, everything from Westman Atelier. That's what's next on the list. It was months. It was like a couple of months at the beginning of the year. I wanted to try Westman Atelier so badly. And this is something that I think even with my budget fresh and plump at the beginning of the year, I would never have been able to bring myself to buy it with my own budget because the products are just so expensive. But it was the beginning of this year, and this is the first year that I've done like a budget for review for my channel. Like, my channel has a budget that I'm able to spend on things just for review. And I became convinced that Westman Atelier would be like the thing for me to review. The foundation stick and the blush stick, and then like the highlighting balm thing, the highlighting like powder thing. In fact, I had basically decided to do it. And I wanted to with the passion of 1,000 burning suns, and I was like really excited about it because the products look really beautiful. And many of you have like asked me to review Westman Atelier, but y'all, I would go on the website and put like 2 or 3 products into my cart, and then it would be like $300. It's just so expensive, even for my channel budget, because what that means, and this is like, you know, the hard facts of budgeting, which my channel is doing separate from me personally. If my channel had chosen to review Westman Atelier, would have knocked out my entire channel budget for like 4 months, and then I wouldn't have been able to review anything else. So it wouldn't really have been a good choice, even though reviewing Westman Atelier on my channel would be great. Choosing to review it at the expense of like 4 other review videos that I could have done wouldn't be a wise business decision. And eventually I realized that, like eventually it clicked, and I put it to bed, and I decided not to spend my channel budget on reviewing it. But it was like the passion was so real, my excitement, both about trying the products and about reviewing them. And then in the middle of all of that, they dropped that lip palette with like the stripes, the, 4 stripes of beautiful. And it was like as an object, it was so beautiful, this bright red dot of packaging. And I was like, I'm going to get that too. I'm going to review that too. And so I like put it in my cart. Then my cart was like $400. I mean, it's just out of control. So I'm glad I decided to do it. I mean, I think it would have been fun, and it would be cool to like be able to tell you what I think about those products. But it wouldn't have been worth it for me, for my budget or for my channel budget, to blow so much all in one place. So I'm glad that I came to my senses about that. And also the passion is gone. Like I would still love to review those products, don't get me wrong, but that nagging passion where I just kept thinking about it. You know, people who don't really get it, they're always like, if you're still thinking about it the next day. I've had people say this to me like 100 times. I go out, I'm like shopping in the shops like before the pandemic. I try on a dress. It's really beautiful, but it's, a little too expensive for me, or there's some reason why it's not practical or something. And I'm like, I just can't decide, but I think I probably shouldn't get it. And then someone will, like a friend or a shop person or someone will be like,
if you're still thinking about it tomorrow, then you know that you should get it.
and it's like, no, girl, like you don't know me. I'll be thinking about it for weeks and maybe months, like I was with the Westman Atelier thing. I was like thinking about if I had functioned on that premise, if I'd taken all of those people's thousands of advices from the years, and then I would have woken up the second morning after being excited about Westman Atelier and been like, I'm still thinking about it and I'm gonna buy it. $400, cha-ching. It's like, no, you have to wait it out, like fully wait it out. So I waited it out, and now I'm not still thinking about it. It didn't take just overnight. It took some months. Sometimes it feels like a pain, the desire to buy a thing or the excitement over the thing. Sometimes it feels like a thorn in your side. And you have to know that even if it takes a month or two, eventually the thorn will dissipate and the pain will leave eventually. And especially if it's something that you really can't afford, like I can't afford, like neither I nor my channel can afford that Westman Atelier review, especially something that you truly can't afford, then just focus on the fact that eventually the thorn will dissipate. Ooh, this one, oh, the Rituel de Fille Alchemist highlighter. So this is interesting. I really, really almost bought this. And it was during that time at the beginning of the year when I was getting really into cream cheeks, and I was like beefing up my cream cheek collection because I had realized that cream cheeks were my passion, but I only had 1 or 2. And I was like, I'm gonna just dedicate a chunk of my budget for the year to getting more of an array of cream blushes. And I did that, and it was fantastic. It was lovely. Like it was a really good use of my budget. It was so fun to get all the cream cheeks. I talked about them on my channel. I love them still. But after making that decision and then buying all the cream cheeks, it was hard to put the brakes on. And so I continued to want to buy more and more and more cream cheeks, even after I had done my haul and been like, okay, that's it. And this was one of the ones that kind of like came up afterwards. It's the Rituel de Fille. It's like a highlighter topper. So it's this really, really sparkly balm. I think it's kind of like the Fenty Beauty Diamond Balm, like on steroids, because I think it might have different sizes of reflects in it. And it's just really absolutely stunning. I'm sure that I would love it. I'm sure that I would still love it. In fact, I saw that they were coming out with a different version of it for holiday, and my heart went pitter patter. I kind of like want it now. You know, I want like the new one, whatever it is going to be. It's a beautiful product. I think that this is one where I can say that it's not like I still want to buy it or think I'm going to buy it, but I do still have like a little soft spot in my heart for it. It's just so pretty. But I'm so glad that I didn't buy it. I just, how can I explain this? I feel like even if I would have loved it, even if in an alternate universe I had bought it and then I would be sitting here today saying like, this is my all-time favorite highlighter and I really recommend it. Like, even if that's the alternate timeline, I'm glad that I'm in this timeline because I'm fine. And like my cheeks are looking pretty glowy as it is, and it's just fine. That's how I feel in this moment. And it's, you know, more than that, just like the practicality. I was like, I'm gonna get some cream cheeks and then I'm gonna stop. And I got them and then I stopped. And I think having done that, having stuck to my guns about that and having not gone overboard is more important to me than whatever kind of love I would have had for this highlighter if I had gotten it. I hope that that makes sense. Oh, this one's so weird because now looking back, I had a little talk with myself. It's the Laura Mercier embossed highlighters. It was in one of my new makeup releases videos towards the beginning of the year, or like the middle of the beginning of the year. And I was like, does this really belong on the list? And then I was like, yes, girl, it does belong on the list because you wanted it so much. You almost went and bought it. And I'm like, really? Because now it just seems like sawdust to me. I'm like, whoever even has heard of this, like, what even is this? Also, it's a powder product and it's like deep highlighters. And I think at the time I had a real interest in the idea of using a highlighter that is designed to be a highlighting product on darker skin than mine on my skin as a blush. I was really into that for much of this year. And then recently I've kind of wised up and realized that sometimes it can work. Sometimes it can work really beautifully. And I do have some highlighters, some things that were designed or marketed as highlighters that work for me as blushes. But sometimes it really isn't right. And it can kind of like make the reflect on my skin on my cheeks look a little bit funny because it's just really, really reflective, and it really is supposed to be a highlighter, and I'm just like trying to put a square peg into a round hole sort of. So I've become a little bit more leery of that as like a theory that like highlight and blush are exactly the same thing and you can just like take anything and put anything anywhere. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But in this case, I was looking at these like beautiful, rich, blushy colors, these embossed highlighters, and I was like, I want those for blushes for myself. And there's just something about the delicate design of the floral pattern that called to me, and I wanted it in this raw way that I want beautiful things, even though everything about it points to it not being a good purchase, especially the fact that it's a powder. And I was just talking about how into creams I was at the beginning of the year. So I'm glad that I kept my feet on solid ground, that I kept myself grounded and didn't decide to buy it, because I am so glad that I don't have it, and I'm so glad that I didn't spend that money. But there was a hot second there when it was like all I wanted in the world. The Fenty Gloss Bomb in Hot Chocolate. This is another one. It came out in the little Glossy Posse set at the end of last year for holiday, and I wanted it then, didn't buy it, good. And then they re-released it, but really they just released it as like the full-size product. And again, I wanted it. So when they came out with it as the full size, I was like, oh, I wanted that since last year. But it's just like, I have lip glosses. And if I had bought it, if I had been like, I'm just going to do it, and I had spent my budget on it and bought it, I would have it and it would be getting the exact same treatment that all of my other lip glosses are getting, which is that I wear them once in a while. I'd be wearing it once in a while, just like I wear all my other lip glosses, and there would be no measurable difference in my actual life and in my actual lip gloss experience. I would just be out the $18. Is that what they cost? Yeah, I would just be out the $18, and I would be out the little bit of space that it would be taking up in my life. And this Fenty product too, this one is actually interesting, I feel like, because I'm really interested in color and color theory and how colors work for people. So the Fenty cream blush in the shade Daiquiri. So Fenty released these cheeks out cream blushes. I did review them, And when I purchased them for review, I didn't buy the one that I myself personally was lusting after. So the one that I myself was lusting after was the one called Daiquiri Dip. It was like a bright red, bright corally red. It was like really red. And when I went to buy them, I was like, well, I've got to buy Rose Latte because that's the more neutral one. That's the one that everyone's going to want to know about. And then I was like, and I'm going to get a second one, but I don't want it to be the same finish because there was like a matte finish and a shiny finish. So I was like, well, if I'm going to get two, I should get a diversity of finishes. So I got Rose Latte because it was more neutral. And then I went with Fuego Flush because it was one of the ones that had a shimmer in the finish. And I'm glad that I did that because I was able to review the two finishes and they did perform differently on the cheeks. But that meant that I only wanted to get two with my channel budget, and it just meant that there wasn't room for Daiquiri Dip. But I had fallen in love with the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Cream Blush and Flushed, which I perceived at that time to be like a bright coral red. I was really into bright coral reds, and that was a really good cream cheek formula. So even after I reviewed them, gave them away, I continued to lust after Daiquiri Dip because I was like, it's not the right one for me to review, but it's the one that I want. Recently, though, I reviewed all of the Cosmetics Color Drops Serum blushes, and two of them are really bright reds, like similar to Daiquiri Dip, and they're the ones that look the worst on me. And when I was swatching them out with my liquid blushes, I realized that CoverGirl Clean Fresh Cream Blush and Flushed is actually pink. It's like this coral pink, and it matches with Pink Nectar from the Cosmetics range. So I realized that the look that I fell in love with is actually like a really brilliant, rich, corally pink, and that I don't look good in a bright red cheek, especially a bright red cream cheek. So I'm really glad that I didn't buy Daiquiri Dip. And I had to like flex those muscles of resistance. I really wanted to buy it. I was this close to buying it with my own budget a couple of times because I was like, I just want it so much. I think I was also really attracted to the way that it looks in the pan. That again, that like red dot of makeup really gets to me. But I know now that I've learned more about blush and cream blush and me, I know what would have happened. I would have been so excited. I would have gotten it. I would have put it on. I would have not liked how it looked. And then I would have had to either return it or give it away. And I don't relish either of those prospects. So I'm so glad I held out. I'm so glad that I didn't buy it. Okay, we've arrived at the first thing on the list that I genuinely still want. So much that I think that I might buy one someday, and that is the Gucci lipsticks. Those Gucci lipsticks, I just feel like they're some of the best makeup ever. And I will just briefly say, the Westman Atelier stuff, I still have a passing interest in it. So that one I'm still kind of like, really glad that I didn't buy because it wouldn't have been a good choice, but I'm kind of like, I feel the same way about the Rituel de Fille Alchemist highlighter. Really glad I didn't buy, but I'm still kind of like, But neither of them am I looking at, I'm like, I'll probably buy it someday. I still want it with the passion of 1,000 burning suns, but I do kind of feel that way about the Gucci lipsticks. I mean, not all of them. I'm not gonna like go on there and buying all of them. It's just I dream of them in the way that the children in 'Twas the Night Before Christmas had visions of sugar plums dancing in their heads. I fall asleep and I have visions of all of those Gucci lipsticks dancing in my heads. In my heads. In all of my heads, I have all the Gucci lipsticks dancing. It's just the three formulas. I mean, I have one, right? I bought it for a review and then I decided to keep it. The sheer, the voile in red. I love that voile formula, but I don't wear the red one as much as I would if it were a nude. So I want a nude in the voile. And then the other two formulas, the matte and the satin, they come in such beautiful colors. The packaging is also totally exquisite and they just feel like the most precious, special objects. It's like I've only tried the one color of one of the three formulas and yet I'm over here feeling like all of them are my favorite lipsticks ever and they're my favorite lipsticks on the market and they've just really captured my imagination. And I really like what they've done with the design on every level, from the color to the formula to the marketing to the packaging, all of it. But here's the thing, I'm sorry, I got like floated off on just like orgasmic tangent about Gucci lipsticks, but getting back to the purpose of this video, because I feel that way about them, because I have this like excitement and this fantasy, like you can tell from the way that I'm talking about it, that I've sort of generated this fantasy of perfection and of attachment and of ego and of like the way that I see myself and this sort of like vision aesthetic vision. I've generated this fantasy. It's like alive within me. And because of that, I'm prone to just to like keep buying them. I already have one, right? But I want more. I want to buy more. I want to like keep chasing that excitement and that feeling because it's like giving me something, you know? And that makes like my red flags go off. And like that's the thing that got me into credit card debt before. That's the thing that got me into like a really bad behavior of just, you know, always chasing that feeling, always feeling like I'm going to become someone else or going to have something that I've always wanted if I could only buy another lipstick. So those red flags have gone up for me, and that's what's kept me from buying more voraciously. I could see myself trying one someday carefully in a mediated and budgeted way, or asking for one of the other colors for, you know, Christmas or something. I'm not opposed to the idea of owning one or two more Gucci lipsticks at some point, right? But I know that it wouldn't be a good decision for me to just go like collecting them with my own money, or like constantly throwing one or the other into my Sephora cart when I ever buy anything from Sephora, because it could quickly add up to hundreds and hundreds of dollars and a whole mess of lipsticks that won't get the attention that they deserve. So I'm glad that on all of the occasions on which I wanted to buy a Gucci lipstick over the past year, and I'm telling you there were many, I'm glad that I resisted all of them. Oh my gosh, this is a product. Do you even remember the Dominique Cosmetics Skin Gloss? This is too an extension of my passion for cream cheeks. It was like this unfolding, the acclaimed drama, Hannah Louise Poston's passion for cream cheeks, that has unfolded over the course of 2020. This was one of those seasons. This is like season 3 of that acclaimed drama. Partway through the year, all I wanted was to like look like a greased pig, but on my cheeks all the time. I was like, grease me up with anything. And I was feeling like there wasn't enough greasy pig stuff on the makeup market for me. Then Dominique Cosmetics was like, surprise, we're coming out with a gloss, a skin gloss. And it looked, at that time I was still like vitriolically opposed to stuff that stays tacky on the cheeks. So I was looking for a skin gloss that wouldn't stay tacky, which is like not really a thing. There are some things that are kind of like that, but now I've moved a little bit more to the center. I'm okay with something staying just like a little bit like this. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it tacky, but it's not like it's dry. It's not like it has dried down and set. It's not ironclad, you know what I mean? But I'm fine with it. I kind of love it. But at that time, I was like, maybe the Dominique Cosmetics Skin Gloss is the self-setting skin gloss of my dreams that I've been waiting for all of this time. And I literally almost bought it. Like I was watching it when it launched and I was like, should I buy one? Should I buy it with my budget? I was like, maybe this is the thing. And then I was just like, Hannah, get yourself together, wait it out. And I waited like 1.5 days. And then I was like, definitely don't want that. I'm glad I didn't buy it. I'm glad that this next thing is on here. The Tom Ford Cream and Powder eyeshadow in Fleur Neige, because it's just a textbook example of a thing that I do that I'm still trying to get a handle on. I still do it sometimes, but in this case I resisted the urge to do it. And that is buying a thing that I really, really love in another color to try to double the love, but it doesn't work because the one that I have is already my favorite one. And you can't really double love like that. So I own the Tom Ford Cream and Powder eyeshadow in Naked Bronze. I purchased it with the gift certificate. That was a birthday gift back in February of this year. And it's one of my favorite makeup products ever. And I've gotten a ton of use out of it. And I've hit pan on the little shadow on the top. And I just think it's stunning. You guys know, I mean, I talk about it all the time and I wear it all the time. I was excited about it before I bought it. I was excited about it when I bought it. I was excited about it when I started using it. And then the more I used it, the more I grew to love it, which is ideal. That's what we want. That's what we want out of our purchases, out of our belongings, right? We want to like grow more fond of them over time. We want them to just like rise and blossom and just become better over time, rather than the thing that I think so often happens, which is that we're excited before, we're excited buying, we're excited right after we buy it when we're first starting to use it. And then the excitement just falls off very sharply, like sharp decline. And then we kind of like forget about it, right? I was thrilled to note that that wasn't happening with this Tom Ford eye product. It has never happened. I still really love it and I still use it all the time. And so when I realized that that was the case, I was like, this is great. I should celebrate by buying it in another color. But here's what would have happened if I had done that. I would have been like, I'm going to get another one, and I would have gotten it. It would have arrived. I would have been excited. I would have had both of them. I would have been like, here they are. I've got this cool toned one and this warm toned one. I would have put them on my vanity. And then every time that I wanted to wear that product, I would have taken Naked Bronze, the one that I already have, the original one, and I would have used it. I would have eschewed Fleur Neige almost every time, because the one that I have is the best one for me. It is my favorite now of the entire color range, and it would continue to be my favorite if I acquired my second favorite. Like, why would I buy my second favorite when I already have my favorite? I don't know, but I really wanted to. I had it in my Sephora cart. I was like prepared to spend my budget on it. I almost bought it. Okay, the next two on the list are, the next three. Okay, upcoming 3 blush products, because it's been a year for me in blush. I've increased my cream blush collection. I've increased my cheek collection overall. I think that in examining my relationship with my own makeup this year, I've really realized that I love cheek products. I love blushes, and that's okay with me. I don't want to have way too many. I don't want to have more than I could ever use or more than I could ever love, but it's okay with me that I've realized that it's something that I'm really happy having kind of a diversity of. But there is a limit to every kind of voracious love of every type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, as a consumer, you have to stop somewhere. And I have found myself this year having to stop somewhere on blushes over and over and over again. So here are 3 ways in which I did that. One was the Buxom Primer Infused Blush in the color Seychelles. It is a very beautiful and sort of slightly hard to come by color, and I think that was what got me. It's a very neutral nude. And for a while there, Samantha was talking about it a lot and talking about how much she loved it. And I just felt like I would love it too. And I really, really wanted it, and I almost bought it. But for one, it's not a cream cheek. I think that was probably what saved me. I'm so into cream cheeks right now, and it's just a straight up powder blush, I think. And I just also was like, I'm not going to go out just like randomly buying a blush when I already have so many good blushes. That was the other thing that really kind of saved me. And I'm so glad. I mean, I think I'm intrigued. I'd love to try it someday, but I'm not over here like wanting it. And I am over here being glad that I didn't buy yet another blush. And there is not yet another blush for me to reckon with, because I do think that I need to maybe do a blush declutter maybe this month. Similarly, the Bare Minerals Bouncy Blush. So this actually got me like even worse. I really wanted this. There was a moment this year, early, it was probably February or maybe even January, I was in Sephora, like physically in Sephora. And I think I had just heard maybe Jessica Braun talking about these Bare Minerals Bouncy blushes and how good they were. I think it was Jessica Braun. And I had it in my hand, the neutral color in the range. And I was like, I love bouncy blush. I love cream blush. I want to try. I love neutral blush. I'm going to buy it. But this was after I had bought all those other blushes. And then I was like, Hannah, get it together. Put it back. You don't need that. Like, you've got cream blushes. You have bouncy things. You're bouncy enough. You're blushy enough. And I put it back, and and sort of like never thought of it again, and I'm so glad. It was a very close call. I almost bought that blush. Okay, those 2 I don't want anymore. I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to buy them. Don't miss them. Haven't thought about them. Had to like dredge them up from the very depths of my memory in order to put them on this list. But this third blush situation is probably the other thing on this list, in addition to the Gucci lipsticks, that I still think might be in my future in some small way. It's the Salt New York blushes, cream blushes, and it's just everything aesthetically. The packaging, the palettes, those beautiful zip palettes, the fact that they're magnetic, their pans are magnetic, the finish, the fact that it's like this beautiful independent brand. I have just been lusting after those forever. And there were several times this year when I was like, I should review those. I should make them my self-sponsored review. And it was just something else always kind of like came out ahead of them in terms of the next self-sponsored review. I also have been held back by the fact that I did invest in making my cream cheek collection more robust in January. I did it all at once, and then I was like, we're done. If I hadn't done that, I probably would have bought these blushes at some point this year. But every time I got this close to buying them, which has been many times, I was like, Hannah, you did this already. You already bought your cream cheeks. You're done. You're good. Just leave it. And just by the skin of my teeth, I've managed to leave it on the table every time. I don't need them by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm using need in the makeup terminology, right? Like if we don't need, of course I don't need makeup. We don't need it. It's not in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But inside of my experience with makeup, there are some things that I need, I need this, I need that, right? I don't need it because the needs, those kinds of needs are already fulfilled by what I already have. Even just by that e.l.f. active workout ready cheek and lip palette, it's like similar colors, similar idea. But I'm really appreciative of this brand. I'm very intrigued by it. I would love to review it at some point. And for that reason, it may be in my future in some way as someone who has a YouTube channel. But I'm glad that I didn't buy it with my budget for the reason that I already talked about, because I spent much of my budget at the beginning of the year on cream cheeks. And I'm glad that I did that and then stopped successfully and didn't continue to go on and on and on. This is one of the ways in which I wanted to go on and on and on, and I didn't. Oh my gosh, the Armani Neo Nude foundation. I was this close. So the Armani Neo Nude, I was trying to decide what would be my next self-sponsored review. I was looking around. Armani had just released this Neo Nude foundation. I hadn't heard anyone talking about it, and they had a shade 0, I think. Whatever it is numbered as, the lightest shade in the range is really pale. It looks really pale on the website. And I was like, oh my gosh, you never see like a luxury beauty brand release a foundation with a shade range that goes that light. And I was like, that looks like it might be light enough for me. I should review it. And at the same time, they had this like liquid cheek and liquid highlighter, and everything looked so beautiful, and the colors and the reviews. And I was like, I'm gonna review Armani Neo Nude range as my self-sponsored review, and it's gonna be, and I was like really excited about it. And then I either chose something else, or I just I just like waited it out because it would have been kind of expensive and taken kind of a big bite out of my review budget. And then I talked about it in a video, and then one of you let me know that the lightest shade, the super light shade in the range, is actually just pure white. And it's supposed to be a mix-in where you like get another shade and mix it in to make it light enough for you. And I'm like, I'm not over here buying like 2 Armani foundations, even with my channel budget, to mix them together to get the right shade for me. And I'm so glad that I didn't try to do that, because it would have arrived and it would have been pure white, and I would have been like, wah, wah, wah. I would have like not been able to proceed in the way that I had planned to proceed. So that was really like a close call. I'm glad that I didn't do it. But I was excited about the foundation, but I was really excited about the liquid highlighter and blush products for quite a while. Like they're still on my Sephora loves list. It was something that I had in and out of my cart for a long time. And then just recently, over the past month or two, I realized that I have no interest in them anymore. The desire, I waited it out. It took some time, but I waited it out, and the desire finally went away. The Wayne Goss release. This is interesting that it was the lipstick, his first release. I really wanted to try those, and I wanted them for myself. Like they're one of the I think it was Vintage Rose lip pencil, and whatever the bright orangey red lipstick was, and then there was another more neutral lipstick that I thought looked like it would work really well for me. I just really wanted them. I fell into the hype, and I wanted to review them, and I wanted them for myself. I loved the colors. I think I did talk about this in a like, will I buy it style video, but I, for a while, was considering doing a self-sponsored review of those products. And then I realized that I really just wanted them for myself, and that I was sort of fooling myself into thinking that it would be a good thing for review, because there was so much review content about that release on YouTube, and there were people who'd been sent the entire range. So it wasn't a good candidate for me to do a self-sponsored review, but I was trying to convince myself that it would be, because I just really, really wanted one. Wanted 2 of the lipsticks and 1 of the pencils, and I wanted to try the glosses. I mean, I wanted it. So that is an example of something that I really was like, it got in amongst me. The release, the hype over the release, and all of the release videos and stuff got in amongst me. And I remember like setting, not an alarm, but like a calendar thing for when it released, and then like going on Beautylish and looking at it and being like, should I buy one? And then I remember just being like, Hannah, just don't. Just X it out. Just leave it. check back in a couple of days and see how you feel. Just leave it. And I did that, and I checked back in a couple of days, and I'm like, I'm so glad that I left it, because it's amazing how quickly the excitement about some of these things, the personal excitement, can dissipate. And then once it's dissipated, the only reality is whether you did or didn't spend the money, and whether the thing is or isn't on its way to you in the mail. And when I checked back in with myself a couple days later, I was like, I'm so glad I didn't spend the money, and I'm so glad that the thing isn't on its way to me in the mail. So this one's interesting. I don't really remember when I learned about this, but there's this Chanel blush stick that I wanted, that I kind of still want, but I don't think it's something that I'm gonna like eventually buy or is gonna really stay on my radar. I think it's just, I've gotten some comments this year because I've been talking so much about cream blush, about this Chanel blush stick in number 20. Some of you have been like, you'd love the Chanel blush stick in number 20, when I'm like talking about other blushes that I love. And listen, I'm sure that I would. I'm sure that I would love it. And it would feel really fancy and special, and it would be Chanel, and the color is beautiful, and I'm sure the formula is great. And there were just a couple of times this year when I was like gripped by it. I was just like, I have to get the Chanel blush stick in number 20. And I would like go on Nordstrom's and put it in my cart and be like, I should buy this with my budget. I should buy it for a review or something. And then and it was the same thing as the Wayne Goss. And then I would just be like, Hannah, just take a break, take a breather, give yourself a week, and it'll still be there if you still want it. And then what happens is like months go by and I forget about it. And that means that it's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine without it. I'm fine keeping my $50 or whatever it probably costs, the Chanel blush stick. I'm fine with the cream blushes. I'm fine with my e.l.f. cream blush palette. I'm just absolutely fine. But I just wanted to tell you guys, I mean, that's the whole point of this video. It's like, you see me talking about what I do buy, and you see me talking about all the things I don't want to buy, because I'll like do these anti-hauls or these videos about new makeup releases. Most of the new makeup releases don't grip me, you know? But you don't see me, I do try to talk about it whenever I can, but I struggle so much and I work so hard to not overspend and to not buy all of this beautiful makeup that I at times desperately want. Like, just like we all do, you know? I still do 3 years later, 3 years after starting my channel, 2 years after the end of my no buy year. I still do, and I use those muscles and I resist, and it saves me thousands and thousands of dollars. And the Chanel blush stick is the perfect example of something that it's like a recurring desire. Like every couple of months, I want it again. And every couple of months, I don't buy it once again. And that's how I'm staying ahead of, you know, financial ruin and emotional ruin. And that's how I'm staying ahead. It's by continuing to like be strong again and again and again. So I just wanted to bring it up. Sorry, I just like sort of lapsed into talking about the concept of the entire video. But we're almost done. The last thing is the Fenty Pro Kisser Lip Balm in Cocoa Drizzle. I was talking for a while about how I was kind of interested in lip balmy and glossy things, but what I wanted was like a milk chocolate one, like a soft chocolate. And then Fenty came out with one and came out with a color called Cocoa Drizzle, which it's like, the color is perfect for me. It's like a slightly grungy pale brown, but the name also really got me because it's like Rihanna reached into my dreams and was like, Cocoa Drizzle, like exactly what I'd been dreaming of. And this is another one that like every couple of months I'm like, maybe I should buy it. Like every time I think about maybe placing an order from Sephora for a review or for myself, which I haven't done very often, but every time I think about it, I'm like, and I could put Cocoa Drizzle in my cart too. But then I don't let the fact that I've wanted it for so long or that it seems perfect for me be the occasion for making the purchase. I'm just like, no, leave it. Leave Cocoa Drizzle and leave whatever else you were thinking about buying. Just walk away and put on your own lip balm or your bunch of other lip products, or, you know, some concoction of like a lip liner with a gloss or something. I'm totally fine over here without Cocoa Drizzle. But these last two, I think are probably like the best examples of everything, because the ones that I wanted really badly and then immediately stopped wanting and forgot about, like the Dominique Cosmetics face gloss or the Colourpop Lunar New Year, whatever, you know, that's fine. But those are like easy. It's cut and dry. It only happens one time and then it's over. And I think that we've all had experiences with makeup, that kind of experience with makeup or other things that we've wanted over and over and over again. It's the ones that recur that I feel like make me really strong and make me feel really strong, where I keep reminding myself that it's okay to be without that thing or live without that thing. And maybe I will end up with that Chanel blush stick one day, and maybe I'll end up with some Gucci lipsticks one day, or maybe I'll even someday get this Fenty Pro Kisser lip balm business. But it won't be because I'm weak, it won't be because I'm impulsive, and it won't be because I'm not budging and I'm not taking care of myself. And I feel like that's what's important, and that is why I wanted to make this video. And that is it. And you know what I'm gonna say. Tell me your stuff. I want to know in the comments down below. I want to know about the makeup that you have wanted that you didn't buy this year. And I would especially love to know about the things that you're like so glad that you didn't buy. Like, is there something that you almost bought that you didn't buy and now you're looking back on it and you're like, yes, queen, yes, I'm so glad that I held out. I'm so glad that I stayed strong. Thank you for watching this video. Can't wait to read your comments. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.